welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be doing 5 underrated contemporary YA books. So just 5 books that I've read that are contemporaries that I think are quite underrated and deserve more love. So the first one I have is an interesting one because I've been reading the back and having a look inside, and it's the one that I remember the least about, but it's the one that I kind of remember having the biggest connection with, so I don't know really what happened, but it is The Museum of Heartbreak by Meg Leder, I'd say. And I am on the lookout for the next book by this author, because when I read this I completely was just absorbed in this story. Also, the cover is beautiful and the back is probably even more beautiful. I read this in one day. It's quite a short book, and I feel like when I read a book in one day I tend to not remember as many details about it as I do with some other books that I read, over like a course or a week, say. So I am a little bit unsure on everything about this one, but it's a very fluffy contemporary. I think if you're looking for something easy and fluffy, this is one to go with. But I also will say that I think the main character, who's called Penelope, is she's a little bit juvenile, maybe. She's kind of a little bit young, a little bit naive. She kind of reminds me a bit of Lily from Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, slightly. So if you don't mind that, then this book will be for you. I feel like if someone would have said that to me, I wouldn't have really wanted to pick this one up, but for some reason, when I started this book, it has quite a big focus around dinosaurs as well, which sounds weird. It sounds weird, but it just works well. I really love it. And I just really liked Penelope's character, even in all her innocence, and sometimes she does things that are a little bit questionable. I just really liked her, and I really felt connected with her. And of course, this is set in New York, and that kind of maybe makes me a little bit biased because I love New York. It's definitely one of my favourite places, and this definitely gave those New York feelings, which I think is, another reason why I loved it. And again, I really like the dinosaur part, which, again, sounds a bit weird, but it makes sense when you read it. And Penelope has a male best friend whose name I cannot pronounce, and I really liked him as a character too. I felt like maybe plot-wise, I can't remember, that's the thing I can't remember as much. I can't really remember the plot. I remember the bit in the middle, I remember the end, I remember some problems, but I can't remember the whole thing. So I feel like maybe the plot wasn't super strong, but I felt the characters were ones that I liked and connected with, and I found the writing to be funny and enjoyable, and I really liked how each chapter starts with like a little item, which kind of reminded me a little bit of Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I never heard anyone talk about this, and I did enjoy it. It's not my favourite of the bunch, but every time I look at it I think, yes, I had a great time reading that, and I probably will reread it in the future, but I'm really hoping I would enjoy it as much, because I feel like maybe it could have been a right place, right time book for me. But still, I recommend you give it a go. I feel like I maybe make it sound like it's not that good, but it's because it has got mixed reviews, so I feel like it's not for everybody. But take a look into it. I really enjoyed that one. Next one is one that I recently read, so I will remember what it's about, and it's Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway. This book was fantastic. Basically, this is a book about Oliver, who, when he is, oh my gosh, seven maybe, when he's young, he gets kidnapped by his father, and Emmy lives across the road from him, and she was friends with Oliver, and it affects her and all the neighbourhood and all of the friends at school. It's a big thing, and they're trying to look for Oliver. And then by the second chapter, and it says on the back here, 10 years later, he returns. Okay, and that's kind of where the story kicks off. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. It's pretty quick. There's not much of a, obviously they're looking for Oliver, they want to know where it is, they can't find Oliver. 10 years later, he turns up. Obviously, masses have changed in 10 years. And when I started reading this book, I kind of thought, I really want to know about the mystery. I really want to know what happened here. Why did Oliver get kidnapped by his father? What's been going on? Etc. And this is told from Emmy's point of view as well, just to let you know. And at first, I was like, oh no, they're not really going to tell me that. They're kind of just going to brush it over, and it's going to be, something else. But the way that it was pieced in was really good. And at first, like I say, I had some doubts. I was not really sure, but it was put in so nicely throughout the story that it just kept me hooked and holding on and wanted to know more, but also invested me in other storylines. I really liked the family relations in this. I really liked Oliver's, not just his story about what happened, but his now, how he feels right now was just amazing. It felt so true and raw. Obviously I have never been in that situation. I don't actually know anybody who has, but from what I could imagine from it, this felt very real. And also, Emmy, as a hobby, likes to surf, and I really, really loved that about this book. I thought that was brilliant. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 5 stars. I definitely would recommend this one. I've heard a few people talk about it, but definitely not enough. Definitely give this one a go, and it does have some nice summery vibes, but also it has that mystery and that kind of underlying, you know, other things with troubles that Oliver is going through. Anyway, so Emmy and Oliver, definitely recommend that one. The next one I have here is Word Nerd by Susan Nielsen. This was a really, really great book, and I haven't actually heard anybody talk about this one. This came out after We're All Made of Molecules, which is also by Susan Nielsen. I have heard people talk about this one. I feel like I enjoyed this one more, but I still like this one a lot. I enjoyed this one a little bit more, but I felt like it wasn't as underrated. So if you haven't read any of these, definitely check out We're All Made of Molecules. It's kind of about a step brother and step sister who are both very different, and they have to kind of get used to living in the same house together. And there's a lot of, the characters are brilliant in this. There's a lot of interesting things. Basically, the main character, whose name's Stuart and his father move into Ashley and her mother's house, but Ashley's dad, he is gay, but he lives in their little kind of, I don't want to call it a shed, like a garage in the garden, which makes for a really interesting family dynamic. And I really liked the discussion on the fact with Ashley and her dealing with her dad who is gay, and having that conversation with it being an adult, not one of the children. I don't know if that's explained that well, but We All Made of Molecules, great book with some great diversity as well. But Word Nerd is the one that I'm going to be talking about, and this one is about Ambrose, who is allergic to nuts, and through something that happens at school, he gets taken out of school and has to be homeschooled. Now, Ambrose isn't really a big fan of this, and, you know, it's not great for him. He kind of feels lonely, and then somebody who lives upstairs, like, it's kind of like maybe he lives in flats, I can't remember exactly. There's a nice family that lives upstairs, and then their son comes home from prison. And his mum's like, you know what, you've got to keep away from him because we don't know why he was in prison. And it's kind of, they put this negativity around him because I guess they're scared of him because they don't know what's happened. But Ambrose is really interested in him. And the relationship between those two was so interesting, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was just a really interesting connection between two people, and it brought up a lot of interesting thoughts and questions. But also, on the side of that, Ambrose loves Scrabble. His mum is very, very protective of him though, and doesn't really like him going out, so, you know, he has to, when she's at work, he, you know, speaks to the guy from upstairs and stuff, and he wants to join this Scrabble club thing. And it's really, really great, and I really loved it. It's very, very short, nice quick read, and again, another one of Susan Nielsen's book that I enjoyed as well. So that's Word Nerd. The next one I have here is Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornall. I read this in the summer last year, or at the end of summer last year, and I feel like it now is getting a little bit more hype because I think it only just came out in the US. I think that's why it was a bit underlooked, because it was only out in the UK, I believe. But this is about a girl who has, I don't want to say it wrong, agoraphobia. There we go, it's on the back here. So she suffers with agoraphobia, and I've read a couple of books around this topic actually. Most recently I read Finding Audrey, which is kind of a very popular book about a similar situation. But I felt like what I didn't like about Finding Audrey, this book did really well. I gave this book 5 stars. This book did all those kind of things right, and I feel like Finding Audrey has some few problems with. I do, however, feel like this book is very interesting. I was on a tangent about this book and my camera cut off because I just kept rambling on about it, so I'm going to try and make it a little bit shorter and easier to explain. Something that happens in this book, which I can't tell you because it'll spoil it, but it definitely changed my way of thinking, and I don't have any of the problems that the character in this book has, so it wasn't like I could relate to her on that personal level. But I feel like maybe everybody could take this one piece of information that happens in this book and work it into their life. And I feel like that was such a strong feeling that I got from this book that it just, like I say, it just completely, it stuck with me. Even now, nearly a year later, I still think about that thing that happened in this book and the piece of information that I got from it, and can put it into everyday life situations. I don't know if everyone will take from it the same way that I did, but I really recommend this one, especially if you're looking for a story about agoraphobia. I think this one was done very well, and I would definitely recommend it. And my final one is Unboxed by Non Pratt. I heard a lot of people talk about Trouble by Non Pratt, but not too many people talk about this one. And it's very short. I read this in one day, and I gave this 5 stars, and I didn't think that I would. I started reading it, and I kind of thought, you know, it's very basic, and basically it's about these friends who are going to dig up a time capsule that they put together when they were younger. However, at the beginning, one of the friends has passed away. The other friends, you know, haven't seen each other for a while. They come together, and it's just I say the last probably 20-30 pages just really got to me. I thought it was such an interesting story, and for how quick this is, I feel like everybody should give this one a read. It was just so thought-provoking and impactful, especially if you know, obviously most people grow up with a group of friends in school, and the way that this kind of brought that into it was just very interesting. So yeah, Unboxed by Non Pratt. I can't say too much, it's very short, I don't want to give anything away, but it was very interesting. So those are the books that I recommend that I think are underrated contemporary YA books. I will be doing another one of these for just maybe general. I don't think I could do like a fantasy or anything because I don't feel like I read enough, but I could do just a mix. But I happened to find a bunch that were contemporary, so I thought, yeah, why not make it that. Let me know in the comments below if you have any recommendations. Maybe you've read all these. That'd be interesting to know. But I definitely recommend checking some of these out. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you want to see more recommendation videos, and I will see you then. Goodbye!